This episode of Chat and Chew is sponsored by 30 and 2 CPR. Unfortunately, we don't always know when tragedy will strike. But when every second counts, isn't it good to know that 30 and 2 CPR is just one heartbeat away? Our qualified instructors are standing by to provide you and your staff with the training you need to meet emergencies head on. Visit our website at www.30and2cpr.com or call us at 919-923-6055 to schedule your training event today. Please make sure you follow us on Facebook, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course, hit the bell to activate notifications that will remind you when we're on. Please be sure to leave us a comment to let us know how we're doing. We'd love to hear from you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Dr. Glenn Warren. We have a very, very exciting show. Before we get into it, please, if you are following us on Facebook, please like our page. If you're on YouTube, hit that little share button and follow us. We have a very exciting show. We're going to be talking about the panelists, about the summit we had a couple of days ago, the purpose of fatherhood. I know some of you are watching while you're eating your dinner, so let's chat and chew while you do. I really have some very, very exciting guests that I want to bring, and I'm going to introduce them briefly. But we on this topic again about fatherhood that is dear to my heart. And we had a summit, as we all know, and we had some very, very good conversations. And today I want to follow up again with those conversations. So our guest is Bishop Harvey Spencer, my dear friend. He's the pastor of the church. And then my dear friend, Dr. Terrence Ruth, and also my son, G. So I want them to really just introduce themselves real briefly, and before we really get into the detail. I met Bishop Spencer a few years ago. A friend of ours introduced each other to ourselves, and we've been kind of working together for the last, 10, 12 years now?
12 years, yes. That's about 12 years.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us who you are.
Well, I'm Bishop Harvey Spencer, founder of Greater Love Church and founder of Love in Action. We're right down the street here in the city of Raleigh. And so our church, we do a lot of outreach. We have a business center upstairs where we have about 14 businesses, and all of those businesses are thriving. And, our concept is, you can give a man a fish, he eat for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, he can eat for a lifetime. So that's what we do in our community.
And there's a third leg to that.
What is the third?
Teach him how to own the pond.
Oh, own the pond. That's
yes,
good. That's good. That's good.
Teach him how to own the pond.
Yes.
So, in fact, when we first started, we had been started for a while, and we were looking for a space to rent. You allow us to come in for actually about 6 months.
Yes.
You gave it to us rent free, and then we ended up with one little room, and we ended up with a little suite of 5 rooms there for several years.
Yes. So what I do and what I love doing, ministry, if you connect to people that's doing ministry, you don't have to do it yourself.
Right.
But you can connect to them and have those resources and help empower those organizations. Everybody is, is blessed.
Yes,
So that's our concept. That we want to be a blessing. We don't have to do it ourselves, but we want to support people that's doing it, impacting our community.
Great. And we have Dr. Terrence Ruth, which I met a few years ago. Actually, you did afford it to my second book,
That's right.
When Love is Not Enough to Break Another Child. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, I'm a professor at NC State University.
Okay.
I'm in the School of Social Work and Africana Studies.
Okay.
But I have a personal passion for fatherhood, and particularly the future of fathers.
Right.
The next generation, how will we see fathers? And then if we zoom in a little closer, Black fathers. And so I lost my father to cancer, But I learned so much in his life that it's allowed for me to reflect in my own childhood and in my son's life, who's 9. So it's just a personal passion of mine to live in this topic.
How old were you when your father passed?
So I graduated my bachelor's, and he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I graduated my PhD, and he died that next year.
Wow.
So 2014, he passed on.
All right, cool. So, and the next one is my dear son, my oldest son. We call him G. I don't think he liked the name Glenwood.
Not a fan. All right, I'm G. Like I say, I'm Dr. Warren's oldest son. I'm the operations manager here at Fathers Forever. I run his day-to-day operations when it comes to our 5 transitional houses. I'm also a master barber. I've been barbering going on 16, I think July makes 16 years. I'm the owner of Sharp Image Grooming and soon to be purchasing the second barbershop. So I use the barbershop to, one, cut the guys who come in our program and use it as an opportunity to talk to them, encourage them. And I just recently got my certification to be a life coach. So we'll be doing some work with that in the near future.
Yeah. So I wanted to welcome all our guests to our guest audience. So today we really want to talk about fatherhood as we do. We put together a summit that we're going to be doing on a quarterly basis. Our goal is to have them done once a month, but right now we're doing it on a quarterly basis. And the first one was done at in St. Paul, North Carolina, Christ Worship Center, Pastor Ricky Harrell. We did it in October. And so my friend, Pastor Bishop Spencer, we did our second one, which was January the 27th, last Saturday, of the summit. And we want to talk about the summit. At the same time, we're going to go into some more information about fatherhood. And so as we dove into the summit, we had a round table, and then you came up and did the speaking on fatherhood as well. But I really want us to kind of dialogue about, one of the guys asked a couple of questions that was very pertinent into what we're dealing with. And so what was your takeaway of this summit?
Well, I think it was very successful. Seemed like it wasn't a lot of people that we thought, we should be there, but who was there, I believe it was impacted with all of the information from all of the panelists. So I think it was truly a blessing. And it's, just like anything else. You start out small and it grows. Right. So I'm looking for great things to happen through these summits.
Yes, sir. Dr. Turner.
I was moved by, one, it was efficient. It was some of these conferences can keep you and you not learn. It was efficient, but also it was a call to action to not just be a father of your biological child, but there's a replacement father call to action. I thought that was powerful, especially on this topic. Most of the time they just say take care of your child. Right. This one was like take care of children. So.
Right. Okay, we're going to talk about that definitely. What was your takeaway, G?
That, like Bishop Spencer said, we might not have as much people as we wanted to, but the people that were there was impacted. I was impacted. Yeah. Even being the age I am now, I still learned from guys who were older, who went through things. Maybe I didn't as of yet, but I still at the cross where I can help younger guys because I can relate to some of the things that he said, and I've been through some of the things that he said. Right. So me and him had a conversation after the fact, and I just encouraged him, like, hey, I'm on the other side of what you went through. Right. I'm telling you, you can get there. You just got to push through. Right. Don't give up. Just keep pushing through.
Right.
Yes.
For men in general, we need a place where we can come together and vent and talk. We need to be a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. That's why we call the Dallas Cowboys our team. You call it, because we want to be a part of something that's bigger than we are. And so as men, we don't just get together and like women do and go to the beach and hang out in a room and read books all day. We got to be doing something. And so with that in mind, when fathers get together and talk about things that we need to empower one another, one of the words that we use a lot now, and it's empowerment, and then equipping. But empowerment is just as to me, it's just as important as the word equipping, because empowerment means there is an emotion connected to it. The confidence, the courage to do the right thing. So our goal is to empower fathers and men to equip them, and then get them to engage. And because a lot of times men are not going to come to a fatherhood program on their own, consequently why the attendance was low. Because we got to get guys to come and be a part of the program. So the topic was, what is the purpose of fatherhood? In your opinion, Doctor, what is the purpose of fatherhood?
Yeah, so I think at the ground level, there's a desire for leadership, and leadership at its most micro grassroots level is a father. And I think that leadership trait is spreads throughout the family. But also there's something about family in the nucleus of the family that makes the father significant in our culture.
Right.
If you can predict the existence of a father, you can predict the outcome of an entire family.
Right.
And so the nucleus of that being is literally equal to the health of that entire family.
Right.
So to me, fatherhood is one at its nucleus, its granular level is leadership,
Right,
and then
right.
at its macro level is the health of the family.
Right. Gee.
I would say raising the next generation, raising men. I say this all the time. I'm in the business of raising men. I have two sons, one 18, one 5. I have 2 other nephews. And just being in Barbarian itself, I've seen kids go from 10 to now they're off in college, and I feel like I'm a part of that. Raising men, okay, I give them encouragement. I give them the love that they don't need. Especially with ones who don't come in with a single mother, who don't have that fatherhood, that father figure in their life. I get phone calls from single mothers all the time. Can you talk to my son? Yeah, this is what I'm here for. I'm here to ensure that my sons and every child around me is the best version of themselves they can be. So, in my opinion, fatherhood is preparing young men, whether it be black, white, anything, especially young men, especially my boys and the ones I encounter every day, to be the best version of themselves they can be.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with all of those. And the Bible said, train up a child in the way they should go. So it's a responsibility for the father to really put good values in their children. You know, when children, when we are born, we don't have to be taught to do wrong.
Right.
It's automatically, But the Bible understands that we need to be there to teach them, what to do. That's right.
Right. Right.
A kid, a kid go eat and they have things around their mouth, cookies, and they'll lie. It's just innate in us.
Right.
So that father has a responsibility, the father and the mother, to train.
Right.
It's okay,
Right.
to say you messed up. And so that's what I think. I agree with the rest of the.
So the foundation, if a building, if fatherhood is the foundation, and we all believe that it's the foundation. When God created the spiritual part, He created man first. Then out of man came woman. Out of the woman came the family. Out of the family comes our neighborhoods, our communities, our states, society. If there's a crack in the society, you got to go back to the communities. If there's a crack in the communities, you got to go back to the neighborhood. If there's a crack in the neighborhood, you got to go back to the family. If there's a crack in the family, you got to go back to where the foundation was, which is the fathers. So we have cracks in the foundation, which is fatherhood. So how do you fix those cracks? If a building is together, and the windows are broken, the walls are holes in the walls, but the foundation is good, you can replace that building by fixing the walls. But if the foundation of that building is cracked, you got to do either one or two things. You got to destroy that building because it could be damaging, or you got to fix the foundation. We can't destroy fatherhood. We got to fix the foundation. So how do we fix the foundation? How do we help these things? In a society, we have focused so much on cleaning up the aftermath of fathers. We have millions, billions of dollars on taking care of the woman. We got to do that. Taking care of the kids. We got to do that. Taking care of the aftermath of the home fatherlessness. But we haven't put a whole lot of time in to do the prevention and the education. And as you were saying earlier, our responsibility as men, as fathers, is not just to help our kids, but how do we help other single kids? And one of this discussion I want to start, Doctor, I want you to start talking about this as one of the guys asked a question, after the topic on what purpose of fatherhood, one of the guys that was asked a question, and he talked about a replacement father. The point of what the narrative was, his wife, his girlfriend, who she was, they got a kid together. And now they are separated, they're divorced, or whatever. And there's a new guy in her life. And it looks like, he feels like he's been pushed away as a replacement. Mm-hmm. And he had a lot of issues with that. And we dove into that conversation, all of us, for at least 20, 25 minutes to help, because a lot of men feel that way. Mm-hmm. And a society in which we have a lot of people who, before, it wasn't as many divorces. Now, probably about 50% of people getting married end up in divorce. Back in our day, it wasn't that high. Mm-hmm. Which means now you got a whole lot of blended families. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of stepmoms and a lot of stepdads. Yes. Mm-hmm. And that could be a problem if they're not working together to help raise these kids. And so elaborate that. Talk about that.
I want to rewind, because even in that young man's story, we were talking about separation at the start.
Right.
I want to rewind. The most educated human being in America, on American soil right now, is the black woman. So that is the most educated human being.
Really? Wow.
If you look into child welfare, human service, the kids who are dealing with foster kids, it's almost 70%, 80% women staffed.
Right.
So we don't even have men present there.
Yes.
If you look at high school graduates, I'm just telling you, like, the road before you get to separation, we're absent in other areas in our society that we need to be present.
As a social worker, I saw that in my
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right. I mean, I'm a social work professor. I probably average one male in maybe every 2 years a black male.
Wow.
So you're really not even in the pipeline to be a support to the community around fathers, even being a replacement father. So I want to start at that narrative.
Okay.
Then I want to zoom back a little bit more, right? So I just talked about how we are not present in education. Like, we're literally, our graduation rates are declining, right?
Right.
And then if you zoom into black boys, you're seeing it fall as well. But if you look in the black church, you're seeing a absence.
Yes.
So even in the black, so I mean, you're seeing in pockets where the church was the first school for black community. Mm-hmm. That pastor was historically a male.
Right.
And that was usually the most educated person in society.
Right.
So we would go and learn at the school or the church house from the pastor.
Right.
That would be now we're seeing an absence in that space, and we're seeing an absence in education. So I want to start there, because there's a much larger narrative around how do we be present, much more broader.
Right.
If you zoom into this guy's life, there's phases. There's his stage where he's older and trying to engage his ex and his child, and then there's like services like foster care, like while they're in high school. Then there's like the first 1,000 days that we talked about before.
Right.
I think there's 3 phases. The very early phase, the first 1,000 days, I don't hear a lot of language around that time.
No.
I don't hear that at all, especially at birth. When the child is born, they said the father being present in that hospital is a game changer.
Really?
And so the after the hospital, after the 1,000 days, you have programs like this where somebody's mentoring, and so we need more of those. And then you have programs like yours where you're dealing with grown men who are trying to engage. I think the whole spectrum needs to be invested in and need to be supported. But to this young man saying replacement fathers, I was just impressed with the encouragement for him to not just see himself as the father, but being able to lock arms with somebody else and be two fathers at one time.
Right, which was a lot of men and women struggle with that. So when there's a separation, when you don't get along anymore, and instead of now there being 4 parents, because she's going to get engaged and get married, he's going to get engaged again and get married. So now you got 4 parents working on this family, this one child. But if they're not together, if they are contention with one another, now the kids become in the middle of the fight. And I think that's where a lot of society struggles when it comes down to blended families. It's because the families, and I tell my guys all along, we want the court system to fix a problem, it's not designed to fix.
That's right.
It's not designed to fix the contentions that you have with one another.
Mm-hmm.
The child support people are there to collect child support money. They can't fix your problem. So we do have a systemic problem, yes.
Yes.
But we also have an individual problem.
That's right.
And we want to fix the systemic problem without fixing the individual problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got to fix both.
Yeah.
That's right.
And when you said about the house, about the windows, about the foundation, what you have to do is just start with one at a time, you know?
Yeah.
And just like you're doing, you know, sometimes we look for the crowd and we miss that one or two that God wants us to minister to.
Yeah.
So we got to empower those that we have access to. You know,
Right.
just like if you're going to restore something, if you're going to restore a cabinet or something, you got to have access to that cabinet to restore. So as long as we got access, you know, we can build and we can restore. And so sometimes, as you know, with me as a pastor, you desire the big church, you desire the crowd. God spoke to me and said, listen, you got to focus on the ones that's right with you,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And sometimes we miss it.
Right.
Because we're looking for the crowd,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So you're doing it one at a time.
Right. So and we designed that, the summit. I mean, I think I want to do a big convention where men come together. That's all well and good. But it's in those small crowds
Yes.
and those like we did this past weekend that we got to just dissect
Yes.
this whole thing
Yes.
of what a replacement parent father is, which a lot of men are struggling with.
Yes.
If the contention is between her and him, and she's not allowing him to see her child, and then she's got a new dad in, this man now is sitting on the sideline,
Yeah.
and he's angry and he's mad, and sometimes he take the attitude, I just wait until they get 18.
Yeah. And that's not good.
And that's not good. And so, like some churches, they had the big congregation on Sunday mornings, and then they have the cell groups that they do during the weekday where they come together in people's houses, and you do that one-on-one. That's the kind of approach I want the summit to be.
Yes.
That we can sit down and talk about stuff that's happened to on a regular basis that they may not have opportunity to talk to in the big classes where we have 15 to 16 guys.
Yeah.
We want to be able to, that's why we do one-on-ones, because fatherhood is really connecting, and a lot of times that's talking to one another and empowering one another and getting beyond our own selves and start looking at, the child and really start focusing on
Yes. And what's so important in those settings, we have experienced, things that we can really share firsthand.
Yes.
On how to handle certain situations, because I was in that situation. I had a stepdaughter to come in, and and the stepdaughter wanted her mom's attention. I wanted her mom's attention too, so I began to do little things and try to compete with the stepdaughter until God spoke to me, said, "You are the adult."
Right.
And so those things they really do happen. And these settings like that, I think that we need to have the little round tables, but as you said, individual conversations to really help each other.
So dive into that. You could comment on that before we.
Well, just what Bishop Spencer said, I've been married going on 3 years now in a couple weeks. And I met my stepdaughter when she was, 8 years old. And for the first 2-3 years, her mother and my wife's relationship was so intense. Like I felt like I was left out. And even though I didn't do anything petty, I also felt like I was withdrawn. Like, okay, y'all got your relationship. I'm just going to stay over here. It took being around them, maturing to realize, okay, this is not a competition.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
We both love your mother. You and your mother have your own relationship. Me and my wife have our own relationship.
Yes.
Now we just got to figure out the dynamics of doing everything together.
Yes.
Along with bringing in a new child together and incorporating my oldest son from a previous marriage. It was hard the first couple of years. Like it was to the point where I didn't think it was going to work. Yeah. But learning from being around men, my father, my grandfather, I continue to push through because it's something I wanted. And now we're at the point now where things are starting to smooth out. Like both kids are in college, and I think the kids maturing as well helped.
Yes.
Versus us just bickering over small things. So, in touching the point y'all had earlier, my oldest son, his mother remarried, and because me and my son had a relationship, he was with me every weekend, sometimes during the week. By the time she got to the point where she was remarried, I had no doubt that I was being replaced. I looked at it as, okay, now I got another man that we can focus on. I know her, I know his mother, so it wasn't like she was a person in the streets who I had to worry about. I knew she was going to pick somebody like me. And so long as that was the case, I was cool. I had to introduce myself to him, and I knew just from her, they had conversations about me that as a man probably wasn't true. So me and men talked. He realized you're nothing like what she said. And I said, yeah, I know. I know your wife. We was married, so I know what she's gonna say. But after me and him had a conversation, and he seen how I was with my son and how I was with his wife, my ex-wife, we had no issue to the point now where every time he sees me, he feel like we best friends. Yes. I'm like, we cool. and we can shake hands and we can have a conversation in the midst of that, but we're not going out getting a drink together. I did introduce myself. I did show that I'm there to support them and vice versa. And just overall, like Christopher has, my oldest son has, like you said, 4 parents. So he has that side, he has our side, and as a family, we always come together for anything. So he always felt supported, and I never looked at it like a replacement. So that's why I told the young man from the summit, like, you have to change your thought process. You have to change your mindset, because with that mindset, you always gonna feel that way. That's the biggest thing with black men and stigmas and everything. We have to change our mindset first. Like you said, I was trying to quote about scripture, but whatever it is, you have to change your mindset and you have to move forward. You have to change how you think, your perception of everything, because if you don't, you're going to stay there. You're going to be stagnant. You're going to feel like that 10 years from now, when if you change your mindset now, and it's a accountability, it's self-reflecting, it's all that rapping. When I tell myself every day, I strive to be a better person, a better father, a better man, a better individual. And that's how you got to go in every situation.
Yes. Go ahead.
It's amazing about this story. If you trace back the history of black families in America, historians were shocked when slavery ended and people started looking for their families, their wives and their husbands. Like, they said, how did these family units survive slavery?
Right.
Like, how do you know where to go?
Right.
Like, how did y'all stay connected to where that family connection will force you when slavery is over to go and get that spouse? So we've had replacement fathers for a long time.
Exactly. Wow.
We used to, when we were sold off, we would say, this is your cousin. Really ain't your cousin. Really not your cousin at all. But you're saying you're in the care of this person. The concept is not even new for us.
Right.
We just need to tap into the ancestral energy that we've sort of lived on in this soil. Right. But we have had family units that have survived deep trauma. Deep trauma. What I like about the season now we're in is that fathers now talk about how they feel.
Yes.
I wasn't used to that with my father. My father didn't say he didn't say a word.
I know, right? and this is the platform on which I wanted to create and Fathers Forever in general, and also in the summit, that we can come together. Stephen Covey, one of my favorite, he talked about see, do, get. He talked about perception. He talked about your perceptions. He talked about we need a paradigm shift in how we view things.
Yes.
Your perception is what you see. Your do is your action, and your get is results. See, do, get. So if you're seeing the wrong thing, you're going to do the wrong thing.
Yes.
And results is going to be jacked up. So how do we change our perception? And how do we get society to change their perception about men? Not more importantly, but equally important, by black men. Yeah. Because sometimes the perception about us
Yeah.
is that we are lazy thugs running the street, selling drugs, not taking care of our family. That's the farthest thing from the truth. Now, we do have people out there doing that. We know that.
Yes.
But that's in every generation, in every race.
It is.
But we have got to change that perception about that's not who we are. And some of the guys get mad with me sometimes, and I'll say this, and it's like, I don't want to go to the child support because I don't want no white man telling me how to pay my kids. I said, like, so when did a white man have to tell you that?
Yes.
Why did he have to tell you that? As a father, like you just said, that was inherent in us. That was drilled inside of us. You took care of your kids. What you did on the side, you did your crazy, but you came home and you took care of your kids. The good part about that in our father, that stayed there. The other generation now, this generation that we're living in, not so much sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, they just kind of, you know, and a lot of times is they're not seeing it, you know, and I'm not making no excuses for them. But how do we help change that paradigm shift and us as black men and helping these young boys who's having kids themselves?
Yeah.
And how do we help change that paradigm shift?
I think it starts with the narrative.
Yes.
All the stats you gave, all that's true, and I understand all that. But from my point of view, I'm in a situation to where I see black men with their kids every day.
All the time.
90% of my customers, even though I have single women come in, everybody comes in with themselves, with their sons, and with their stepsons. So my narrative is that black men do take care of their kids.
Yes.
Black men are involved. And the same way I view it, we need to figure out how to change the narrative for the world.
Right.
Change those numbers,
Right. Yes.
but let them see exactly what I see on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
We have men, black men, every day coming into my shop, in all barbershops, taking care of their kids.
Yes.
So it starts with the narrative, how we figure out how to expose my narrative and what I see to the world and change the numbers that you mentioned on earlier.
Right.
But to your point, you have famous people now, like your LeBrons, who they love on their kids. He's present at games.
Yes.
His schedule is insane.
Yes.
And he's at every game.
Yes.
So you have popular figures who are showing it.
Yes.
But we are lining up against a narrative that is long and old.
Yes.
A long time ago, there's a book called Barbarian Virtues. A book that talked about the branding of immigrants, not just African American, but the branding of immigrants. They had a spectrum. Civilized and savage. Barbarian was the lowest. Civilized was the highest. And they had the black man as the barbarian. And we when they would draw pictures of us, it would look like animals.
Wow.
So when they say barbarian, we were next to animals.
Wow.
This is not Terrence telling you this is history, American history.
History.
So you're talking about a stigma that is ages old.
Oh, yes.
Barbarian, I mean, close to animal.
Wow.
So you're now starting to see research. For Dr. Cece, she spoke at the family fatherhood conference. Her research is saying black fathers is the most engaged fathers because we were measuring engagement wrong.
Yes.
We were measuring around the table. The very Eurocentric model of what engagement.
Right.
But she said fathers are sneakerheads and showing their kids how to invest.
Right.
Fathers are, she literally was starting breaking down what engagement means. So you're starting to see the boat shift in the research world around the value of black fathers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So explain to me, talk to him a little bit more about the 1,000-day scenario, because our summit, as well as we want to go out to struggling fathers, and we want to go out to good fathers, but we also want to go out to new fathers.
Yes.
Because they are just coming into this world. And those who are going to be fathers, I want to be able to tap into them about the importance of being present. So talk about that.
Yeah, so the 1,000 days really centered around the pregnant mother and the mom's health in the first 1,000 days will either lead that kid to hunger or lead that kid to wellness and nutrition.
Wow.
The first 1,000 days can determine a lot about the kid's health. But they also said the first 1,000 days for a father is critical. We want to start engaging once the child is old enough to engage in a relationship with us. The research is saying the first 1,000 days is everything. It said that you can tell if the kid's going to own a home by how engaged you are at the first 1,000 days. It determines how long that kid will be married the first 1,000 days. It determines how much they will make a year when they get older, the first 1,000 days. But more importantly for me, because my role was to just talk about the role of a father in education, schools can predict whether your kid will drop out, just work in the workforce without a degree, or go off to be in an Ivy League school by the 3rd grade. They don't need their whole life.
Right.
But before that 3rd grade, they said before that kid get to preschool, we can determine how well they're going to do in all 12 years.
Wow.
We want to start education when the schools start education. But learning starts in the stomach. They tell you now, start talking.
Yes.
They want you. We want to hear that father's voice in the stomach.
Yeah.
But that first 1,000 days is critical, and most of the time it's ignored in research, conversation, dialogue. But there is a body of research. The Perry Project did a study, and it took 20 kids, and they split them into 2 evenly. And they gave one a first 1,000 days support, nutrition, and care, and then they gave one no care or nutrition. And the stats were just staggering across those lines. And they re-interviewed those kids at the age of 27.
Wow.
And at 27, it was night and day on all the kids. And so that first 1,000 days is when fathers need to plug in and engage. Don't wait to the end. Now, here's the real picture. The first 1,000 days is tough. The mom don't want you in there.
Right.
When you enter the hospital, they act like you don't exist. You can keep going.
They don't put your name not on the birth certificate.
Yes.
You're not invited even to.
Yeah. So there's a practical, difficult moment in the first 1,000 days. I want to be real about that.
Yes.
But that moment is critical.
Yeah.
Yes, and it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I was in my children's life through, when my wife was carrying her, I would talk to her. And I have some stepchildren that it's almost proven because in my life, that's how it was. Not that my other children are not successful, though, because I was a part of their life. But the ones that grew up in the house, after she was born, I watched my daughter, so my daughter has a relationship with me that the rest of them don't have.
Right.
So it is a real thing too that by being there, even before birth, before they're born,
One of the classes that we do on statistics. We do a whole class on statistics, and I start out by saying, give me a definition of what statistic is, versus a survey, versus a poll. A poll in a survey is opinion.
Yep.
I want your opinion about something.
Yep.
Yes.
A statistics is based on facts. So when you get 70% of high school dropouts come from fatherless home, we take all 10 of those statistics and we'll talk about, and that's the quietest class. And sometimes they walk away from there kind of angry. And I said, I'm not here to make you feel bad. I'm here for you to understand the significance of your presence, or the devastation of your absence. That's the purpose of this.
Yes.
And so when I don't know, I can sure where I was at. I watched this TV program where they had a baby just born, and the baby was asleep. When the father walked into the room, the baby didn't wake up, but he started moving around. When the father left, the baby went back. When the father walked back in the room, the baby started moving. Still, because there's something about a father's presence. And that's what we have got to change the narrative about us individually. Because once we change that narrative about us, it's going to spill over to society.
Yes.
We have to get it first.
Yes.
We can't let society tell us how we should feel about our kids. Even though they're saying this is wrong, I can't let that bleed into me. I got to show them that I'm responsible.
Yes.
And there, like G said, and we all said, there are so many responsible fathers out here, but they're not on the 5 o'clock news.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So we, as we have the opportunity now. We have social media. We have opportunity to present this data, And so let's do it, you know, and you're doing it. So that's why I support you, because this is necessary. What you're doing is really needed in the community. So I wish that you would just get behind what he's doing, because he's making an impact, and changing lives.
I love what you shared. I just ran for mayor, and we wanted to deliberately run as a father, wife, and child. Mm-hmm. We wanted the city to see. Right. And my motto is, if I'm there, my son can be there. Yes. Right. If I'm lecturing in class, my son will be sitting right there. Mm-hmm. They call him my shadow. If I'm there, I don't want them to see tears. I want them to see a father. Oh, wow. If I'm in a committee meeting, if he can withstand committee meeting,
you want him to be there. Right.
The people know. Right. Miles may be with Terrence when he comes. And I don't prohibit him from any space. Wow. That people can see a father.
And I love what you said. You said your son has been tutored all the time, and which is something that I don't know. I didn't embrace that. I didn't know it. But we need to start making sure that our kids, and not only just going to school, but get the tutoring that they need to not just keep up. But to stay ahead and learn things additional that's going to help you apply to stuff that we have. I think that's a very powerful.
I mean, historically, we were prevented from learning. Like it was against the law.
Yes.
So there was a thirst when education was first given to us, and so we were learning in churches and at home. Yes. That was the first school for us. It wasn't the school system. They had to make a law to allow for us to have black schools. Yeah. So it wasn't. We weren't learning,
because you can lose your life if you taught reading.
That's right.
So my son learning at a young age at home is not a new thing. Again, these things are not new, but it has become something where we have
back away from
at least the kids' perception is that I'm not dumb. I don't need a tutor. Yeah. But some of the most high-performing kids have been with a tutor their whole life.
Yeah,
there's never been a break. You're either going to invest now and they get a scholarship later, or are you going to have to pay for remedial or pay for every penny at college? You're going to pay now or later for college for learning.
So how do we change the narrative? Like, for kids, I'm going to get you a tutor, and you're going to embrace that, and still it's like, I need some special help, so I got to get some special help because I'm not smart.
I'm always, and I encourage this for every human being. I'm always in a state of learning. My son always see me asking questions on the phone with somebody or reading, so he's watching me learn in front of him.
Right.
So I'm not just pushing him into a space and I'm back watching. I'm actually learning and engaging as well.
Right. I know we got to wrap up. We could be here until Jesus come back. But one of my mentors always said to me, some things are taught and some things are caught. Mm-hmm. We teach in books, but we catch behavior.
Yes.
If your son is watching you read, you ain't necessarily, hey, so you read this about reading. He's observing what you're doing.
Yes. Leading by example.
Yeah. And he's catching, this is okay.
Yes.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what learning is fundamental. Reading, and sometimes we don't read enough. And right now I'm trying to pick up a book, whether it's an auto book, because I want to, I'm on this quest to find out how I can really, really engage and father and get people to understand the significance of fatherhood, which means now I got to do research. I got to study. And I can find myself sitting down at my computer and be there for hours and hours doing research and come and say, man, I never thought about that. I never knew that.
Tommy Ford was here, and we had a panel. And, and we had lawyers. We had...
I was there that day.
That's right. She was there. But growing up, when you're smart, you're considered as a nerd,
right?
So we got to let our kids know it's okay to be a nerd.
It's okay to be smart.
It's okay to be a smart nerd.
Yes.
I mean,
because they will label you.
Yeah. Most people don't know this, but most professionals are extremely smart.
That's right. That's right.
Richard Sherman from Seahawks.
Yes,
he extremely smart. So they're starting to see it now. And to your point, like if I known the first 1,000 days made a difference. What as far as the tutoring is concerned, I would have did it. It makes me they want to have another kid so I can do it, so I can try it now. but I can't. There ain't no more. But to that point, like I was there the first 1,000 days for both of my sons, but the tutor part never thought about it. And if from a child's point of view, if they go into kindergarten knowing more than everybody else, I feel like that's going to be a confidence thing.
That's
so
right.
they can continue to that we now going forward by knowing the information 5 years ago. My youngest son will probably be more advanced than what he is right now. So that's information that we need to get out.
Yes,
that we need to change. That we need to change the narrative on.
Yes, for some reason I did it, not knowing how necessary it was. I had my kids in preschool, over here around, and you can see how they're doing in life. They're doing real good.
Yeah. Okay, so my team is telling me we need to wrap this up. I really, really thank you, Bishop Spencer and Dr. Terrence and G, for coming and I wanted it to be an open discussion, not just about the sermon, but stuff to be. And we're going to do this on a regular basis. The whole platform of this podcast is to talk about fatherhood, and talk about issues like this that people can listen and learn and say, "Oh, I'm going to apply that principle in my kid's life." We got our grandson's in college now. So how do we get him a tutor? Our granddaughter's in college. How do we get them a tutor if they need one? Not if they need one, but just to help them. And which is what I just said. If they need one,
that's right.
Because that's not because that's how we think.
That's right.
That's it.
But in addition to what they're doing, get them a tutor.
That's right.
Get them a tutor.
Get them not if they need one, because that just came out of my mouth.
That's right.
Because that's how we think, which is that paradigm shift that needs to change. Because if I can change that perception, I can change my behavior, and the outcome will be different.
That's right.
On that note, I guess we're going to have to sign off today. And Bishop, really thank you for coming so much. And
thank you.
Terrence, thank you. And okay, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope our broadcast has really been insightful. And tune in for our next broadcast. See you next time. Here's 3 ways you can support our Dads at a Distance initiative. Give a copy to a family member, our friend. Donate monthly, a book monthly, 5 books monthly, how many books you want to do monthly donation. Reverse book signing, your church, your business. You can make a donation go to our website at www.afatherforever.com and go to our PayPal at Fathers Forever. Our Cash App is $Fathers Forever. Make your donation today. Please include in the note section, include DAAD. Again, include in the note section DAAD.
If you or someone you know would like to be a part of the show, please visit our website at www.afatherforever.com or call us at 919-779-9905. The Chat and Chew podcast streams Thursdays at 8 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. To schedule a reverse book signing or to find out more information about how you can become a part of the programs you heard us mention today, please be sure to stop by our website as well.
Hello, everyone. This is Glenn Warren, founder and executive director of Fathers Forever. I want to share an alarming reality with you. 627,000 fathers are incarcerated that have kids under 18. Now, there are 56,000 moms incarcerated who have kids under 18. The reality is there are so many more fathers incarcerated than moms. This is why I Am a Father Forever book exists. Now I need your help. I am inviting you to help us get this book into as many fathers incarcerated as possible. Here's how it works. For your donation of $22, we will provide a book to an incarcerated father. Thank you in advance for helping Fathers Forever heal fathers and save families.